Hello everyone, my name is Christian and today I will be presenting our pitch for our game. So to start off, our team name is Tempus Fugit and here is our logo. Here are our team members. I'm sure some of you guys have already met some of these guys. So let's get started with their influences.
So our influences for the level design and kind of our graphics comes from Binding of Isaac. We also get a lot of our game style influence from Doom in that it's a bullet hell shooter. You're fighting hordes of demons. To get our soundtrack from Doom in that we're going to be using a metal focused soundtrack. The ability to pick up and drop weapons in our game Wild Hunt comes from Castlevania, and we get our atmosphere from Dark Souls in that it's very bleak and depressing and cool and dark.
As for our game overview, well, our genre is going to be a bullet hell shooter. It will be 2D, top-down shooter kind of game, much like, of course, Isaac. It's going to be retro slash pixel art, and it's going to be a side scroller. So, of course, it's if you move to the left, the screen will move to the right, and vice versa. Our game setting would be apocalyptic. We're trying to go for like a modern apocalyptic sort of fantasy type setting, and our targeted platform would preferably be PC.
So our story is starts off with a lone priest in a church who has uncovered some old ancient dark texts and has accidentally unleashed the Wild Hunt by opening a portal. And your goal is to go out and fight the demons that have been released and to close the portal.
For our mechanics and dynamics and aesthetics, to begin off, we'll start with mechanics. We have a mechanic which is items and power-ups. Of course, our games would have items in which the player would be able to pick up and use. These items could give a certain advantage for the player. It could possibly give them, say, a heal or a buff over time, which would give them an advantage over the enemy, or say a power up. We could say like a bullet power up in which the bullet will increase its size, making its hitbox bigger. Another a mechanic we have would be throwable objects. We tried to implement the idea where we could throw or pick up boxes or objects and we can lunge it at enemies. Um, the point of this, because we tried to implement the idea of yeah, just throwable objects, in which when you throw it, it can possibly drop an item or it could just hurt, damage an enemy.
In terms of dynamics, one of the dynamics we've implemented is enemy weakness and strength. So different abilities or play styles and different approaches will affect enemies differently. Like being a fast-paced character might work better against some of the larger enemies, whereas a brute strength character might work better on some of the weaker ones. And we promote these different playstyles through a variety of weapons and items, as well as spells.
As for our last MDA with the aesthetics, we're trying to go for again a cool, cold world, much like Dark Souls. But we're also trying to implement a chaotic sort of vibe, not too chaotic, but just enough to give you some adrenaline. And of course, we wanna force the players to feel isolated, to have a sense of sort of depression, um, because you really are alone in this game.
Our target audience will be teen, and so we've rated our game T. That's because there's not really very much dialogue, so there's no cursing, and there's really not any blood or anything. So it's just cartoon violence at this point, and so we've just left the rating at teen.
And here's our prototype demo.